The West certainly didn't see this coming, as in various regions of Africa, particularly in the Sahel area, a growing number of leaders have recognized that the policies of Western nations may not always align with the best interests of their own countries. Consequently, they have begun implementing measures to reduce their reliance on Western influence. This shift has seen countries looking to diversify their international partnerships, seeking alternatives to Western aid and military support. Conversely, some African leaders continue to maintain close partnerships with Western nations, prioritizing financial assistance and military aid from these countries. This dichotomy reflects the varied approaches within the continent regarding foreign policy and national development strategies. Recently, there has been an increasing sentiment in West African countries that the presence of foreign militaries has exacerbated security challenges rather than alleviating them. This perspective has led to growing opposition to the stationing of foreign military forces on African soil. One notable example is the country of Senegal, where Prime Minister Sonko, who assumed office a few months ago, expressed discomfort with the presence of French military forces in his country. This sentiment is not isolated to Senegal. The recent eviction of French military troops from Niger and the suspension of a military agreement between Niger and the United States have sparked speculation about the future of foreign military presence in the region. There are even discussions about the possibility of Nigeria hosting a U.S. military base, highlighting the complex and evolving dynamics of military cooperation in West Africa. Reports indicate that both the American and French governments have been actively lobbying the governments of Nigeria, Benin, Togo, and Ghana to negotiate new defense pacts. These negotiations aim to potentially establish foreign military bases in these countries. However, the public backlash on various media platforms against these lobbying efforts highlights a growing hostility among Africans towards the presence of foreign military bases within their borders. This trend raises several questions about the reasons behind such strong opposition. Firstly, the presence of Western troops and intelligence personnel in the Niger Republic was intended to combat terrorism, but failed to effectively address security threats in the country. Despite the launch of Operation Barkhane in August 2014, led by France, there was an increase in terrorist activities within 2 years. Data suggests that the Western Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, Mali, and Western Niger, witnessed a significant rise in violence and casualties caused by militant Islamist groups, leading to the displacement of over 2.6 million people since 2016. This failure to improve security has contributed to the skepticism and resentment towards foreign military presence. Many Africans believe that the presence of foreign troops has not only failed to reduce violence, but may have also exacerbated the security situation. Additionally, there is a perception that these military bases serve the strategic interests of the foreign powers rather than the host countries. This perception fuels the belief that foreign military presence undermines national sovereignty and self-determination. Despite its initial objectives, Operation Barkhane seemed to have exacerbated the security situation in the Sahel region. This has led to a prevailing sentiment in West Africa that the presence of foreign military forces, particularly American and French troops, may have contributed to worsening security issues. The presence of foreign troops within another country's borders raises significant concerns regarding national sovereignty and the maintenance of public order. In many cases, the host country lacks the authority to enforce its own laws upon these foreign forces. This situation creates a perception of diminished sovereignty, as foreign military personnel operate with a degree of autonomy that can undermine the host nation's control over its territory. Moreover, the privileged diplomatic status of foreign military bases presents additional security challenges. Personnel stationed at these bases often bypass regular immigration procedures, traveling on military aircraft and utilizing airstrips attached to the bases. For instance, the Ghana-U.S. military agreement granted the U.S. unrestricted access to Ghanaian facilities, raising concerns about the extent of U.S. military operations in the region. Similarly, a comparable arrangement for U.S. troops in Somalia has raised questions regarding the activities of U.S. forces and the lack of oversight from the host country. The unrestricted access and special privileges enjoyed by foreign troops can lead to resentment among local populations who may view these arrangements as infringements on their nation's sovereignty. This resentment is further fueled by instances where foreign military interventions have failed to bring about the promised stability and security. Instead, leading to increased violence and displacement. Thirdly, the presence of foreign military forces often involves interference in the internal affairs and destabilization of host countries, akin to a Trojan horse from the West. A notable example is the Nigerian Civil War, where Britain supported the Nigerian government, France openly backed the Biafra secessionists, and the United States displayed ambivalence. African leaders should contemplate the implications of such support in internal conflicts and consider the potential harm should Western powers become directly involved with boots on the ground. The Nigerian Civil War serves as a cautionary tale of how foreign military involvement can exacerbate internal conflicts. The differing stances of Britain, France, and the United States during this period demonstrate how external powers can influence the course of a nation's internal strife, often to the detriment of the local population. This historical example underscores the need for African leaders to carefully weigh the potential consequences of foreign military assistance. Nigerians have a long history of opposing defense agreements with foreign nations. This sentiment dates back to the 1960s when the Tafawa Balewa administration abolished the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Agreement. Public outrage over a clause that permitted the Royal Air Force to conduct flyovers and test its aircraft in Nigeria, which was perceived as an infringement on Nigeria's sovereignty, led to the agreement's termination. The fear was that tolerating such an agreement could embroil the country in hostilities against the wishes of its people and leaders. This historical context is crucial for understanding contemporary resistance to foreign military presence in Africa. Furthermore, the recent diplomatic strain between Nigeria and the Niger Republic exemplifies the potential consequences of decisions perceived by Western powers as direct threats to their interests. When Niger decided to expel French troops, it sparked tensions with Nigeria, a historical ally. This situation illustrates how seemingly minor decisions can escalate into conflicts between nations that have no inherent desire to engage in hostilities. Notably, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has even threatened to invade Niger and taken a unilateral stance against countries experiencing coups. These actions have undermined decades of regional integration efforts and damaged historical relationships between Nigeria and its neighbors. In light of these developments, it is crucial for Nigeria to focus on repairing its relationships with neighboring countries, safeguarding its foreign policy, and protecting its territorial and sovereign integrity. The presence of foreign military bases has the potential to undermine these objectives, as evidenced by the growing tensions between Niger and Benin, which underscore the strain on regional relations. The categorical denial by Nigerian Information Minister Mohammed Idris that Nigeria has no plans to host the U.S. or any foreign military base is a positive initial step towards addressing these issues. In the case of Niger, it serves as a significant litmus test for whether African nations can break free from external oppression. There is hope and optimism for positive change, but also mixed feelings. Despite reservations, there is certainty that Africa will emerge from this period as a stronger, wiser, better, and freer continent. To those complicit in maintaining the status quo of oppression, it is urged that they reconsider their stance. The times have changed, and business cannot continue as usual. The awakening witnessed across Africa signifies a powerful and spontaneous revolutionary movement. It is important not to be blinded by ego and a false sense of invincibility, as this movement has taken on a life of its own. Instead of relying on outdated tactics of using force as a means of intimidation, it is imperative to adapt to the evolving political landscape. The demand for freedom is at its peak, especially among the people of Africa. This is not merely a hollow threat, but an idea whose time has unmistakably arrived. It is often said that nothing else in the world, not all the armies, is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. Reflect on the sheer size of your armed forces. No matter how vast they may be, they pale in comparison to the force of this idea. Why persist in using force when it is evidently insufficient? To those non-Africans intent on starting this war, it is not about winning, because deep down, in their dark and resentful hearts, they know they won't win. Their aim is to destroy and devastate the motherland because they see that Africa has begun to reject them and their works. Their mindset is, if I can't have you, no one can. We must not let this happen. The reason they can't have us anymore is that we're tired of being exploited, and this separation is happening on our own terms, not theirs. Our leaders must understand this. We are more than capable of filling the void they leave behind, and nothing will stop this change. Let's pray for wisdom to overwhelm foolishness in our leaders, for bravery and boldness to replace cowardice and timidity, and for the outdated colonial mentality to be replaced with genuine Afrocentric patriotism for motherland Africa. What are your thoughts on this? Please subscribe, like, and share. Additionally, we encourage you to provide your feedback in the comment section below.